Guys, we are back. Another great week here with the one and only OSB Sports Podcast Show. I am Scott Matthews, the host of the show. Love being the host of this beautiful show. And guys, I am joined again by the main man, Tommy D, a.k.a. the Big Kahuna. What's up, Tommy?
What is up, guys? Yeah, it's an exciting...
Get excited, Tommy. Come on.
I'm excited. NFL schedule came out last night.
Yep.
We got some real marquee matchups. Week 1, that KC Ravens game.
All right. We'll discuss that.
We're going to get into all that, but everything is good. Good time of the year to be active.
And on special location at his home base, the one and only CEO of the Sports Profits, my man, Teddy Brooks. Welcome back, Teddy.
Oh, I'm thrilled to be back, guys. I missed you guys while I was in New York more than I missed my family, but I'm happy to be back. And
I thought we are family. Yeah, come on now.
Well, you know what I mean. All I could think about the whole day on Wednesday is like, man, I wish I was at the Podcast Junkie studio.
Yeah, but you were rubbing elbows with some nice people. We're going to talk about your little venture at the SBC coming up a little later in the show. How's everything going other than that?
Everything's going good. The picks, the picks are a little slow with the free picks, but we're still 67%, so everything's going good.
Well, how bad could that be? That ain't slow. That's pretty damn good in my eyes. What do you think, Tommy? 6-7%?
When you have four months of good percentage, you can afford a couple losing weeks and you're okay.
Well, I want to jump. Speaking of picks, I want to jump into the NBA playoffs with you guys because, we finally got one team that's moving on, and that's the team that the Big Kahuna and myself said we're going to get to the NBA Finals, which is the Boston Celtics. They wrapped up their series against Cleveland with a nice 4-1 series win. And obviously, Cleveland had a lot of guys out, but the Celtics, listen, they could, they're the dominant team in the East, and we're just going to wait to see who they play. Tommy, what do you think? Are they going to play the Knicks, or are they going to?
Being a New Yorker at heart, I couldn't think of a better matchup. Celtics-Knicks, man. That will rock and roll. Boston and New York are rivals. They're rivals in baseball. They're rivals in basketball. Yep. The fans at the Garden nearly had a mini riot the other night, I'm told, in the city. And I'm looking forward to the Knicks play the Celtics.
Well, they got
to get by the Pacers.
Yeah, well, they're up 3-2. They look.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, this Brunson, man, wow, where the hell did he come from? A couple of years ago, unheard of, and look at what he's been doing since he's turned to the Knicks. That guy has been dominating. Teddy, what's your thoughts on that series between the Knicks and the Pacers? Obviously, the Knicks have the edge going in, but now they got to go back to Indiana. You think we're going to see 7 games, or is this one ending on the next one?
I think the Knicks win it in the Garden in Game 7. I can see the Pacers taking this one at home and then it going back, but I don't see the Pacers winning the series. I think the Knicks are the better team because they have Brunson, right? At the end of the day, the NBA is a superstar league. It's the league who has the guy. It's not like baseball or football. It's who has the guy, and he is the guy, right?
Pretty impressive what they're doing, isn't it? Like, I mean, they got a lot of injuries.
Without Randall, I was about to say without Randall. Randall's hurt, and he's a big part of that team. So imagine.
And OG's out. OG's out now for them, and he's a big part.
If they were healthy, I think they could give Boston a fight. I don't think they're going to give. I think Boston steamrolls through this whole thing.
Yeah,
I really do. I don't. And you were saying that months ago, and I know you're a Boston guy, so you have a little bit of a bias, but I think it's fact. I mean,
well, if I didn't say Boston, my son was going to be like standing behind me like for the whole entire playoffs, telling me, "Dad, I thought you were a Boston fan."
So is he a Celtic fan or a Heat fan?
Yeah, no, we went to the hockey game the other night. The Big Kahuna took us, me and my son and another gentleman.
That's right.
We went to the Panthers game, and
They didn't show up,
I
unfortunately.
was neutral. You know, listen, I'm a neutral guy because this is what I do for a living, so I can't favoritism to because I'm from Boston or whatever. But my son was going nuts when the Bruins beat the Panthers the other night, forcing a Game 6, and the Big Kahuna and myself, we were just sitting there chilling and watching him get all jacked up.
Panthers looked like crap on that game. I mean,
Yeah,
what the hell? They looked like they didn't even want to play.
I don't know. It's just weird. You know, the playoffs are strange. What do you think of what's going on, Ted? I want to ask you this because I thought Minnesota, the way they looked in those first 2 games against Denver, blowing them out, basically controlling each of those 2 games in Denver, and then they go home and play absolutely like shit. I mean, and lose those 2 games. And last night they go back to Denver and they look terrible again. I mean, 3 straight games when they were up 2-0. They're probably going to lose this series now.
You want to know what I think? I think that Anthony Edwards had the team on his back for a couple of games. He's an emerging superstar. He looks great.
Yep.
Carl Anthony Towns is solid too. So they have that duo. That's a very good duo. But they probably need a couple more pieces to the puzzle to take it to the next level. If you said, "Hey, give me Jamal Murray and Jokic versus Anthony Edwards and Carl Anthony Towns."
Whoa.
Sorry about that, guys.
Got nervous there. It's getting a little excited, I think.
My hands are going crazy. I'm Italian, so
that's all right.
Carl Anthony Towns, and Anthony Edwards, and Jokic and Murray. I'm going to say in a Game 7 series, Carl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards are going to get a couple games probably, but the other 2 guys who have gone you're talking about the league MVP, right? They named him MVP of the league.
Yep.
The big boy. And he's a funny character, man. Like the way he plays, it's like he doesn't really like basketball. He'd rather not be playing. It's like a job to him. And but he's just so good, and he dominates.
See what he did the other night? He's the only center, I think, in the history of the NBA, 40 points and 10 rebounds in a game. He's done it twice. He's the only one ever in the NBA that's done that, I believe. That was the numbers they put up on. It's amazing what this guy's done.
Amazing. You saw Shaq talking a little smack about him. I was like, man, Shaq sounds real jealous right now, trying to say that he didn't deserve the MVP and all this stuff. But he's the best in the league. I mean, he gets it done. You're talking about they beat a Heat. They beat a Heat team last year that beat a lot of good teams in the playoffs and just dominated them.
Yep.
So I think it's going to be Denver and Boston.
Yep.
I don't think anything changes. I think status quo.
That's what everyone wants to see.
What was your pick, Big Kahuna, in that series, Minnesota and Denver? Did you like Denver to win that series at the beginning?
I like Denver. I predicted Boston's going to go to the finals. I think the league wants to see a Boston-Denver final. Denver could beat Boston, I think. You know what I'm saying? I think that'll be the marquee matchup here. But let's see if they even get through. They should beat the Wolves, I would think.
Okay.
In my opinion. But I've been noticing, I know you like props, Teddy, a lot of high prop between point rebounds and points. I'm seeing Jokic every night in the 40s. Big numbers they're putting up there for the big guys with prop betting.
I'm surprised not in the 50s.
Big numbers are.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm actually not a really big prop fan. I don't know. That's not really my thing. But I actually have later on in the show, I have some information about props that I got at the SBC that I'll tell you guys about.
One other series before we move it on. You got last night Dallas. Again, we're shooting this show on a Thursday, guys. It won't be up till tomorrow, but got to talk about the games anyways. Dallas takes a 3-2 lead over OKC. I mean, OKC, they look so good, too. It's another surprise. I don't know if it's these young teams, when they get to the second half of the season, maybe the pressure gets to them or the intensity levels. Then you got to match up against your opponents, obviously, with the intensity levels. But OKC's not looking at, like they were. They're down 3-2. What's your take on that series? I don't think we really made any picks, but I think OKC and Denver or Dallas matching up against Denver could be an interesting matchup, going in to see who gets to the finals.
To me, it's the same thing. The cream rises to the top. They have Luka, who is a very, very good player. Once again,
Yeah.
Same idea.
Yep.
Same idea.
You got Kyrie.
The cream rises to the top. Look at the Heat. I mean, the Heat, and there was a big controversy about it where Jimmy Butler said, if I were playing, we would have beat the Celtics, and then we would have gone on and beat the Knicks, and I would have shut Jalen Brunson down. And Pat Riley came out and said, I mean, it got kind of ugly. Basically told him to shut up if you're not playing, which it was kind of weird, kind of uncomfortable, but
those are fighting words.
True.
When it comes to contract negotiations.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He did that. He did that with Wade as well a couple of years ago.
Yeah, Pat Riley's a tough cookie,
he's
man.
a hothead. He's a hothead, man. That guy.
No, he's not. He's just a smart businessman.
He's not a hothead. He just doesn't take shit. He does not let star players dictate. The same reason why LeBron left, because LeBron wanted all these different things. And LeBron wanted to do things his way, and Pat Riley said, no, you're going to do it my way. And LeBron said, okay, bye-bye.
Probably one of the smartest executives in the history of the NBA, Pat Riley.
Smart dude, without a doubt.
He knows how to control guys.
I mean, think about what he's done for the Heat as an organization.
What he does is he treats it like a business where I don't care how big of a star you are still my employee. And not a lot of teams in 2024 treat it that way because they're afraid
kissing ass
of their stars leaving.
Yep.
Yeah. He's not. That's a good term. He does not kiss any ass. He is no nonsense.
Well, we don't have your girl Serena here this week. I know you big time with hockey with her, but I'll tell you what, these hockey playoffs, man, they are exciting. I mean, no one's clinched their series yet in what the remaining games. Obviously, the Rangers were up 3-0. They've given back 2 games quietly. This Carolina team, let me tell you something. Don't be surprised if they don't force this thing into a Game 7 and have a shot to win that Game 7 in Madison Square Garden. I think that's a really exciting series. What's your take? I know we're jumping around a little bit, but we want to get in all these topics right now that are hot, which are the playoffs. What's your take on that series, Ted? And I'll drop to the big kahuna right after that. On this series, Rangers were up 3-0. Now it's 3-2. Game 6 is going to be unbelievable scene in Carolina. Carolina got a little momentum going right now. What's your take on that series? You think the Rangers get it done, or Carolina going to force a Game 7 and maybe beat them?
So weren't the Rangers up 2-1?
No, 3-0.
Or were they up? So Carolina has won 2 in a row?
They won the last 2 straight, yes.
Okay, so when this series started, I liked Carolina. I don't want to use the word overrated for the Rangers, but I saw a lot of weaknesses in them that I thought that could be exploited, especially looking at it from if the Panthers are going to play them, which if they beat Boston, they're going to play the winner of that series. I think Carolina has a better chance if you're looking at like any of the 3-2s right now, teams down 3-2, they're probably my favorite to come back and win a series is Carolina. With either sport, whether you're talking about NBA or hockey, if you show me anyone that's down 3-2 right now, I think Carolina has the best chance to win 2 in a row.
When was the last team? When was the last team in the NHL playoffs? A team come back 3-0 deficit and win the whole thing.
You can't ask that question if you don't know the answer.
Right.
Well, my point is, I'd
have to do my homework on that one.
Well, what I'm just saying, I feel the Rangers will pull this out probably in the 6th game. Going back to the Garden, Carolina does not want to go back to the Garden 3-3, but
they want to go back to the Garden because if they don't go back to the Garden,
they want to go back.
Done.
But I'm saying I think the Rangers win the series, but also look at probability.
I'll tell you one thing: if Carolina goes back to Game 7, they're favored to win. I mean, they're going to be favored in that game too. They've been favored in Madison Square Garden in every game they've played there. The Rangers have not been the favorite at home. Even the other night, Carolina was a 120 favorite.
That's an excellent point. What does the odds makers say about the Rangers?
They're 170 tonight. Carolina to win at home.
I was going to say 165. I mean, they are the favorite, but I got fooled. I thought last night I liked the Stars, and they didn't pull it off. That series is really throwing me off. But I think Carolina comes back and wins the series. That's my guess.
All right.
And I'm going to actually, while you guys talk for a second, I'm going to pull up the odds on that because I think that'll be a nice plus money bet.
All right, now we got another interesting series. It looked like a landslide. We had the Panthers 3-1 dominating against Boston, beating Boston both games in Boston. Come home and lay an egg, right? We were at that game the other night. What's your take on that? Now you got Boston giving them a little momentum in Game 6.
Listen, the Panthers by all means should win that series. We were at the game the other night down here in Sunrise, and they played like crap. So, hey, anything is possible here. I think in the end, the Panthers do pull off this series.
I'm going to agree with you on that one.
Yeah. But the Bruins were a nice dog the other night. I had them as a
nice dog. That's the biggest dog they've been in a long time.
I put under 2.5 out team goals for Bruins under.
Panthers were 220 favorite in that game. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
When's the last time you ever saw
220
Boston
favorite.
getting plus 195 on a game?
And they nearly pulled out minus 1.5. They pulled the goalie with 3 minutes. Normally, you do see a goal.
Yeah, you cashed in on that, right?
Well, I cashed under 2.5 team goals for the Bruins, but some sharp money
they
was
pulled
on
the goalie with 3 minutes left.
3 minutes to go, and
the
minus 1.5 would have paid off big time for the Bruins.
My opinion still is I think the Florida Panthers somehow, some way are going to the Stanley Cup. Obviously the West is still damn wide open. I can't narrow the West down yet, but I made a prediction before the playoffs started that I like the Panthers. So somehow, some way, I believe the Panthers, if they don't pull it out in Game 6, which they probably have a chance to pull it out, they might even be favored in that game in Boston. I think they're going to be the favorite, or it's going to be close, very close game.
Scotty, listen, don't steal my thunder. I gave the Panthers to win it all, and I specifically said it's not because they're my home team. It's because they're the best team. Now, listen to this, guys. I gave them they were like plus 650 before the playoffs started to win it all. They are now the favorite on Hard Rock at plus 275 to win the Stanley Cup.
Right.
The Florida Panthers.
Wow.
They're officially the favorite. Now, here's a little bit more juice for you guys here. Tonight or tomorrow night, they are a 145 favorite. So you're right there.
In Boston?
But in Boston, they're a 145 favorite.
Surprised it's that high.
They're minus 750 to win the series.
Mm-hmm.
The Hurricanes and the Rangers, that's my bet. I'm going to give this bet right now. The Hurricanes plus 200 to win the series against the Rangers. So they're down 3-2. You can lay 100 to make 300 back if you bet the Hurricanes plus 200.
You would think those numbers would be higher for some reason, not just 2-1.
No, because it's 3-2 and they're going home. Don't forget they're playing in Carolina Game 6. If they force a Game 6, they're going to be favored to win Game 7 in Madison Square Garden.
I see it.
That might be really good value at 200. Really good.
I think that's a great value bet. And back to the Panthers, every team needs a night off, a night to kind of take a nap, fall asleep.
On a closeout game, though? Come on. On a closeout game?
I think on a 3-1 or a 3-0, yes. On a 3-2, no. But on a 3-0 or a 3-1, yes. And I'll add this. The Panthers, they play with such high intensity. They're a hard-hitting team. They're an aggressive team. They get a lot of penalties because they play with such intensity. So it's hard to keep that intensity up every game. So, yeah, I think they got caught slipping a little bit. And if you look at their shots, the Panthers are second in the league in shots on goal, but they are closer to last in the league in percentage. So they take a lot of shots. They get a lot of shots to the goal, but their percentage isn't high. And if you look at their shots on goal last game, it was very low. So all they got to do is get their shots back up and they'll be fine.
All right. So you're sticking with your play, the Florida Panthers to win it all, or just to get to the Stanley Cup Finals?
I'm sticking with the Florida Panthers to win it all.
Who do you think they're facing?
Here's a very interesting thing with that. I think they're facing the Oilers, but here's the interesting thing, and that's a shots on goal versus shots on goal. Oilers were number 1 in shots on goal this year. Panthers were number 2. I think those are the two teams that are going. Okay. Now, here's what's really interesting, guys. What's really interesting is the Dallas Stars are down, right? They're down
3-2.
3-2 right now. I believe,
they're up. No.
They're up
3-2. They're up 3-2 against Colorado. They lost last night.
Okay,
They
so
could have closed it out.
that's right. They were up 3-1. You're right. So the Dallas Stars are a very good team as well, but I think because the Oilers have that shots on goal, they have that offensive power. I think Dallas plays Edmonton. I think Edmonton beats them in 6 or 7. I think the Panthers win in 5 or 6 in the next one. I know we're getting way. Serena her steam would be blowing out of her ears right now for us getting so far ahead of ourselves. But
That's all right.
That's what I think.
That's where we get paid the big bucks to come up with these games.
The Panthers, I mean, like I said, I gave it plus 650. It's at plus 275.
I'm going to
now,
disagree with you on the one play. I think Vancouver's going to win that series.
Wow.
Yeah.
You think they're going to come back?
Well, no, it's 2-2. I think they're going to win the next game and go up 3-2, and they'll find a way to win one out of the other 2 games. I think this Vancouver, Rick Tocchet's a hell of a coach. He's got this team jacked up big time. He's a real intense guy, Philly guy, East Coast guy. I think he's going to keep this team very focused, and they're going to find a way to beat Edmonton. Edmonton's decent, but I don't think they're as decent as people think. I like Vancouver.
Plus 155 for that bet.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go crazy on it, but I think Vancouver's going to find a way to get the job done. I got to bring the big Kahuna in here because he's nudging me.
No, I'm good.
Well,
let me ask you this though.
Go right ahead.
So assuming Panthers move forward, assuming
are we going to a game if they move forward? By the way, against the Rangers.
That's where I'm going with all this. Tell
Okay.
me a Ranger-Panther series would not be intense. You got half of New York living down here in South Florida.
It might take your salary to get us in the arena.
The other half could come down here or go up to New York to watch these games. There's nothing like a South Florida-New York series.
Well, you know what's going on nowadays, though, with these tickets.
Crazy. New Yorkers are invading.
No, it's not even. No, it's totally the opposite. They're the local teams or whatever. They're finding ways to buy up all the tickets so they can't get the tickets to the outsiders.
The Sixer owner tried to pull that off.
They did it,
but there was nearly a riot at that game with Knick fans.
Yeah, that first game they got away with murder. There was like 70% Knick fans.
New York money is stronger than Philly money, so they'll find a way to get those tickets, believe me.
Yeah, those tickets will be nuts. Probably a get-in ticket down here. If I had to guess, just a get-in, I'm talking about all the way up top. It's going to be about $250 a ticket.
At least.
You're looking at $1,000 down below a ticket.
I was thinking 500 for the nosebleeds. I mean,
I would
Eastern
I agree
Finals,
with you,
man.
Teddy.
I don't know about nosebleeds 500, no. But down below, you're looking at 4 figures for a ticket for a Panthers Rangers.
Yeah, for sure.
But even Panthers Carolina is going to be a huge series because, those teams are pretty connected. And listen, that's going to be a hell of a series.
Yeah,
either way, it's going to be a hell of a series if the Panthers
you're still
make
looking
it.
at a couple $100 less.
We're writing
They're
off the
all gonna be
Bruins
good
right
series,
away.
right?
What's that?
Well, they're all going to be good series. That's what we were talking about, how the NHL has so much parity that
Yeah, we said that beforehand.
Let's just real quick. The Eastern Conference has been like Boston steamrolling, right? They're favored by 10 to 15 points every game.
15 and a half last night.
I don't want to jump too much, but I just have one quick question. When Boston comes out, whether they play the Knicks or the Pacers, you think they're going to still be favored by double digits?
Yes.
You think it's going to be in the higher single digits?
Yes.
Still double digits?
Definitely. At home? Definitely. Definitely.
That's why
maybe 9.5. Maybe 9.5 against the Knicks.
Yeah, high or lower digits, double digits,
or 11.
Yeah.
I say they're going to be double digits. Yeah. The Celtics. Let me tell you something. I've been telling everyone this for the longest time. The Celtics. Everyone else can play like this, maybe go like that a little bit, but if the Celtics put the gas on, they can go like that off the charts.
Yeah.
If they take it to the next level, they can beat anybody.
So coming back to hockey, it's just so equal. It's so even. There's not really one series right now where you say this team's dominant. I mean, every series is.
Well, you're looking at it. Look at the Bruins winning on a closeout game in Florida. Last night, look at Colorado winning on a closeout game in Dallas. I mean, these teams, anyone could win in anybody's building.
It's good stuff.
It really is. Any team in any sport can go into anybody's building on any given night and beat them. I don't care what the price of the game is.
And just to add one quick thing about Ranger Panther tickets, maybe here in Florida, 300-400. Try to get into the Garden for that
forget
price.
about it.
You're not getting in.
Double, whatever it
At
is here.
least. At least.
Yeah. It's, I was just talking with a couple of buddies of mine recently, just conversations. But the average sports guy, think about it, you want to take your kid or something or your kids to a game, average guy, how the hell can you afford to do it? We paid
Baseball.
$55 for parking.
Marlins, here we come.
$55 for parking to go to the Panthers game. That's what they charge, $55. Normally it's $20 or $25. And the tickets, like you say, are hundreds of dollars. So you're going to spend over $1,000 with food to go to a hockey game. The average sports fan can't do that.
No, and like Tommy said, the Marlins, they're paying us to go to the game just to make it look like the stadium's full. That's the only sport.
You know what?
Yeah,
it's supply and demand. There's plenty of people that will pay it.
But even like the Yankees, I was considering when I was up there going to a Yankee game. They were playing the Astros, and tickets were cheap, $30-$40 for the bad seats, $50-$60 for some better seats. Not expensive at all for Yankee Stadium. Baseball's
when you had the big three down here, LeBron, Wade, and when they were in the playoffs back then, I'd take my son and an Amiga. You were still looking at $1,000 that night. That was 7, 8, 9 years ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, NBA's a whole different animal.
Yeah.
I mean, the NBA playoffs, you're talking about seats, cheap seats.
$250, $300
Minimum,
easily.
way the hell up.
Yeah,
though.
minimum.
You want to be down low, you're paying four figures.
Yep.
But listen, we touched on the NBA. We touched some hockey. We touched NBA. What about some baseball? Any of you guys? Any surprises to any of you guys? You want on the baseball season so far? We're about 43 games in. The Yankees look pretty dominant already. They're doing well. Dodgers are in their lead in their division. Any surprises you guys see, or anything you want to add with baseball right now?
I think baseball is a frustrating sport to wager on. What I'm noticing is you have teams that get up 3, 4, 5 runs and end up
blowing
the leads, man. I look at the bullpen. Baseball's been a strange puppy this year. So it's a long season ahead. I think you got to pick your spots with baseball, and you got to definitely look at the odds. You can't be chasing big numbers.
And a lot of these guys, I mean, we know a lot of these guys take these big favorites, so they don't want to lay 200 or 190 or 220, and they'll lay 1.5 runs. But the sad part is these friggin' teams, they don't win by 1.5 runs. They'll end up winning the game by a run. So it turns out to be a bad bet. You're trying to think you're gonna, oh no, they're gonna dominate, win the game because they're 220. Come on, that's not the. You got to look for value, guys. You got to look for right situations, because that's not how a lot of these big teams, you've noticed it recently as well, are winning, but they win by a run, or they lose the game actually.
How about taking 1.5? Not many people do that. That's not a popular wager, but that's a smart wager. Take the 1.5. Yeah, you got to lay some juice there.
Yep.
But if a lot of games decided by 1, get the extra half run in your favor.
Especially when a team's favored big on the road.
Yeah.
Some of these teams like, that are playing well. Philadelphia's playing outstanding right now. Also, they're probably the surprise in the league so far. I think they got one of the best records so far in baseball. And obviously the non-surprises, well, I guess the worst of the worst are the team right here down in South Florida, the Florida Marlins, and also it's actually the Miami Marlins, right? I'm always confusing the two. Teddy?
Miami Marlins.
Right, Miami Marlins.
Used to be the Florida Marlins.
Exactly.
Now listen, here's what I think
and the
about
Chicago White Sox playing terrible.
I heard they're moving out of Chicago.
Yeah, well, they might have to, because the fans might riot and force them
I
out.
heard they're moving. There's not enough room in that town for 2 teams. So here's where I'm at with baseball. It is very frustrating. Tommy D is absolutely correct. I made in previous years, I would say baseball was my number one sport. College basketball is now my number one sport, but baseball was my number one sport for a very long time. I think where it changed was the pitch counts. They have all these big starting pitchers on these pitch counts, and when they reach that pitch count, they're yanking them. Doesn't matter how good they're pitching. See, back in the day, for those of you young guys that are watching this, 21, 22, for those of you guys that were 10 years ago weren't betting baseball because you were 11 years old, there weren't really pitch counts, and the good pitchers pitched 6, 7, 8 innings. And if they were pitching a shutout, they'd let them.
Yeah,
pitch the
they
whole
let them
game.
go all the way.
You're not. That is not happening anymore.
But
here's the problem.
Right.
Here's the problem with it. These pitchers, you could have a good starting pitcher. He pitches 5 good innings. The bullpen comes in and gives up 6 runs.
Yep.
It's very difficult right now to figure out what's going on with baseball because of these pitch counts. What you really have to start doing is really start paying a lot. Bullpens did not matter as much in the past as they do now. You got to really start paying attention to these bullpens and who has the better bullpens and who has the strong bullpens.
Live betting opportunity, Teddy, possibly, huh?
Yeah. I mean, look at some teams with a good pitcher pitching, and then look at their last 3 games, and you can see how many innings they pitch. I'm just going to pick a random game. All right. I'm going to pick the Rays versus the Red Sox. You got Criswell and Little. They both have ERAs under 3. One has a 3 ERA, one has a 2 ERA.
Right.
Look at what they pitched in the last 3 games. Little pitched 5 innings, 4 innings, and 5 innings. He did good. He only gave up 3 earned runs in a total of 14 innings.
Right.
In his 5 innings, he gave up. Now think about this. On April 30th, they played against San Fran. They were up 4-0. They did win the game. He pitched 5 innings, gave up 0 runs, but they still pulled him after 5 innings. Going back to the other guy, 6 innings, 5 innings. These are pitchers that are doing well. They have low earned run averages. They have good whips, but they're getting pulled early. So this
who started that like about 4 or 5 whatever amount of years ago, 4 or 5 years. I think it was Tampa Bay. They used to take out guys after 3 or 4 innings, and they put another guy in. They used to run like 4 pitches in a game, like short stints. The starting pitcher went like maybe 4 innings. They pulled him out, put another guy in, maybe an inning or so. Then they put another guy in, and then they put a closer in. So
but here's what I don't
understand. That whole philosophy started, like, in the last 4 or 5 years, where they don't let these pitchers go long, and then they bring in like an early reliever, a middle reliever, and then the closer, the late reliever.
What I don't get is they're trying to. I know that it's for the health of the player, but the big time pitchers, they pitched 20. I mean, Randy Johnson, that guy pitched 20 years. All these pitchers, they pitched very old. They pitched till they.
How about Clemens? Clemens, guys like Clemens.
Clemens pitched into his
Pedro
40s.
Martinez.
Charlie Huff pitched until he was 48 years old.
Wow.
Right.
And he was a different style. He was a knuckleballer.
You got a shot, Big Kahuna, to go back into the majors.
I think the Negro brothers also, if I'm not mistaken.
The knuckleballers.
The knuckleballs. I don't know if you remember them,
Phil,
Teddy.
Phil Negro.
Phil and
then,
what was his brother's name?
That's before my time, I think.
Yeah. 70s.
And then what's his name? The man who Tim Wakefield, who passed away of I believe dementia or cancer or something.
Yeah, he pitched until his 40s.
He pitched until his 40s, and these guys, they were not on pitch counts. They pitched 7, 8, 9 innings.
Well, don't forget, a knuckleball pitcher, though, you're not using the strain in your arm as well as you are a fastball, like a Randy Johnson fastball
let's
pitcher.
Go to Roger Clemens. Let's go to Roger Clemens and Randy Johnson. Roger Clemens was called the Rocket, right? Because he threw rockets, but they were heavy hitters, and they pitched long and deep into their lives. And I don't know, man. I guess there's probably people smarter than we are medically that are recommending this stuff, but
I got to ask you. I got to ask you guys a question right now. Early part of baseball. Obviously, it's an early indication. What's the vision? I mean, you see the AL East. You see the AL East. You got the Yankees in first place. Baltimore right behind them, playing great baseball as well. What division do you guys think has the stronger teams in it right now? You got Cleveland in the Central. The Royals are a surprise team, obviously. Kansas City Royals, they're in second place, 26-19 record. But Seattle is in with Texas and Oakland and Houston and all that stuff. Houston surprisingly is an under 500 team. Who do you think in the East right now? I mean, I know it's 100 games, 120 games away from playoff time, but who do you see as the powerhouse in the East, guys, if you had to guess at this point?
Which league you talking? National American?
The American League. The American League.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Look at them. None of them are below 500. right? None of them are below 500. That is some impressive stuff. So
Well,
who out
Blue
of all of
Jays
them,
technically are, but not by many games.
what, by like one
Well,
game?
we're not talking about just I'm talking about the AL in general. There's 3 divisions of it. You got the
Okay.
AL East, Central, and the West. But I think the West is
AL East
probably
is
the cheesier of the 3, AL divisions at the end of the day, unless
the A, the AL East is definitely
think,
my favorite. I mean, but I do like the Central. I mean, the Guardians are a good team. They have the Twins are a good team. So I mean, I think it's too early. I
yeah,
don't.
no, I know.
It's too early to make judgments like that. But I mean, it's definitely not the West. Let's be real here. It's definitely the Central or the East.
Yeah,
But I think if I had to make a bet, if you said, hey, is someone from the Central or the East going to come out
right,
and make it to the World Series, I would have to go with the East because the best in the Central are the Guardians right now.
right.
And I think that a team like the Yankees
Or
or
Baltimore.
Orioles will beat the Guardians. Like if they played a 7-game series right now, I would take the Yankees or the Orioles.
One thing, and we'll move on because we got a lot of stuff to talk about on the show today. What's your take in the NL right now? You got Philadelphia, obviously, is playing great, 31-13, over 70% win percentage. Do you think
Braves and Phillies look
right?
good.
Well, that's my question. My question was, do you think Philly will end up beating Atlanta in that division, or you think Atlanta, when all said and done, will find a way to, leapfrog Philly?
Well,
In the,
correct me if I'm wrong because my memory gets hazy sometimes, but haven't the Phillies been Brave killers the last couple of years in the playoffs?
well, the
I think
Braves
they
won.
have.
I don't know if they've been brave killers, but the Braves
I
won the
think they beat
title a few years ago, so they had to get by. That
but I think the Phillies the last 2 years beat the Braves in the playoffs.
very, very possible.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty confident on that because a good buddy of mine who I do like a once a month appearance on his show. He has a radio show. He's a big Phillies fan, and I always say the Braves are going to get him. And the Phillies,
And he still invites
I
you
think
back.
that yeah, no, the long time family friend. But I think the Phillies. He's actually doing a really cool sports platform. We'll talk about possibly having him on here. But I think the Phillies do it again. I think to me the Phillies, they just they're both really good teams. I'm going to pull a Serena and say it's too early to make.
All right, no problem.
I totally agree.
It's not, well, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
if you had a,
You got to talk at All-Star break or even
Right.
after that.
we got to get to the big Kahuna because
Well-
he loves the he loves the
Well,
he loves.
yeah, we all do.
He loves the NFL, and we got some things going on. The schedule just came out. Amazing game they're kicking the season. The NFL knows how to do it right. I don't think you're going to get a better blockbuster game than the reigning MVP of the league, Lamar Jackson, going against the Super Bowl MVP, Patrick Mahomes, opening night, Thursday night. What's your take on a game like that to start the season off?
The take is the Chiefs are 2.5. The total's like, I think, 46.5.
Yeah.
No doubt marquee matchup. Everyone and their mother will be watching that game, no doubt. And then the following day, you have the Eagles playing the Packers. I think that game's in Brazil. Yeah, the lines are out. I mean, the Circa was the first to put out the NFL team totals. Let's start at the bottom. The lonely Pats, under 5.5. Giants 6.5. Commanders 6.5. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. But you got some real big matchups. I mean, Jets, Niners, Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
First week, man.
Well, let's hope Aaron Rodgers lasts more than four plays before this year.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
really-
Like the great Yogi Berra. Like the great Yogi Berra used to say, deja vu all over again. Aaron Rodgers in the Monday night opener again. Let's hope. Let's
Well,
hope he.
you know what?
Let's hope his other Achilles.
I listen. I'm rooting for the guy. I mean, he's got, what is he? 40 years old. He's going to be 40 years old this year, or 39 or 40. I mean, the guy deserves his shake to play. Can he take the Jets to another level? That's the question. They made some. They got some decent players. If they can just put it all together with a quarterback like that, I mean, you got a talent. This is a Hall of Fame quarterback, first ballot all the way. I mean, San Francisco. Listen, who knows if they've gotten to the dance, but they can't find ways to win these dances. So I'd be interested to see how they come out of the gates this year.
6.5 favorite, -6.5. The Niners right now.
The Big Kahuna loves those numbers.
Well,
man.
you got to look at the early numbers.
You talk about a team, he's got a number for him.
Hey, I got the opening lines right here. Week 1, if anyone's interested. I mean, they're out there to view, man.
How about I ask you this question? Any team you're going to follow this year? Any team you think could be a surprise team this year? Right, without even thinking out of the gates.
That's a pretty damn good question.
You don't have the answer yet.
Well, I mean, the Bills. I don't think the Bills will do that great this year. I mean, they're 7 against Arizona week 1.
No, I'm talking in general. What team you think might have to play to you start getting up there? To be in.
I think the Ravens definitely could be up there. I mean, can KC do it again 3 years in a row? Has anyone ever done that?
I don't know, man.
If the refs keep helping them, they can. If the refs keep helping KC, they can.
But KC's got all their pieces to their puzzle, man. I mean, they don't.
Listen, guys, let's not forget about what happened in that Super Bowl with those holding calls and just. KC gets a lot of favoritism.
Well, yeah, of course. Look who you got. You got the best player in the world. Quarterbacking. You're going to get breaks. I mean, there was a lot of bad play calling and coaching on San Francisco, especially when they went into the overtime. I mean, that was kind of ridiculous. Couple of things they did there. They gave Kansas City that huge edge. When they kicked the field goal, whatever, they had the chance to go for have 4 downs. Obviously to keep moving the ball. So there was a lot of things. Listen, at the end of the day, they won it. That's the bottom line. There's always breaks. Look at New England, the break they got when they beat Kansas City in the AFC Championship game to get to the Super Bowl and win it that year. So there's always breaks.
Yeah, there are always going to be breaks. I like the Falcons to make a push. I would have loved to see them draft. I mean, that was weird what they did drafting a quarterback. I would love to see them draft a receiver for Cousins, but
yeah, what do you think of that?
Like him.
What do you think, Cousins? Do you think Cousins helps them?
I think it's crazy. I think Kirk Cousins just took a bunch of his players to go meet with John Gruden, and it was a bonding thing for them because Gruden's still a great football mind, but he's suing the NFL right now. They accused him of
he lost that case.
Oh, he did lose it?
He lost
did
the
he?
case.
It's over?
Nevada court ruled against him, and he's going to appeal just 2 days ago. He's appealing, though, right? Right, but he came across 2 days ago.
That thing will drag out forever.
I mean, let's face it. You want to talk about something. I don't want to use the word rigged, but is someone going to beat the NFL? I don't think so in any court case, or especially a coach doing that.
So he took his team, black players and white players, to go meet with him and discuss certain things. So I think it was like a bonding, unity type experience. But I mean, surprise teams. I think that the Texans could be good. Not that surprised because they were solid last year.
What about that sophomore jinx? You like what do you believe in that sophomore jinx with Stroud? You know how this.
Sometimes I don't put too much stock.
But they got some nice weapons around them. They got a couple of good. They got a nice team. If they come back after like last year, they'll be a decent team to watch. Exciting team to watch.
Yeah, I mean, listen, when you talk about surprises, I mean, Ravens, 49ers, and KC, there's no surprise there.
What's your take? Go ahead. Finish up.
No, go. I'm good.
What's your take on the Cowboys, guys? Because you were a big fan of the Cowboys to win the Super Bowl before last year.
Every year, the Cowboys.
What do you think of them this year? You think they're going to be another waste, or they got something there?
They never seem to be able to win the big games in the end. I don't know what they have up their sleeve this year.
Okay.
How about Miami Dolphins though down here? Can they do something this year?
Wait a minute, you're from New York. Are they your Miami Dolphins? I thought they were Teddies.
Well, I've been here a number of years. I mean, I'm
asking.
Yeah. Well, the Dolphins 3.5 over Jacksonville, week 1.
The guy loves these numbers, man.
Well, I'm just quoting the numbers.
We're not worried about week 1. We're worried about what do you think they're going to do throughout the year? Do you think the Miami's going to have a strong?
Dolphins will make the playoffs. They won't probably go too far. My prediction.
Dolphins will make the playoffs.
You saw what I said last year. All year about the Cowboys. I bashed them all year, and
Okay.
You know, I said they're pretenders. So what do I think of the Cowboys? I don't think much, to answer your question.
Wow.
Okay. I don't blame you.
I don't think much of the Dolphins either at this point.
You know
I
what the funny
mean,
thing is? Why the media gets so caught up with the Cowboys? I mean, I know there's
America's team.
Yeah, but that was so long ago. I mean, think about it.
Sticks.
America's team, they haven't been America's shit for years.
Look up their revenue.
Think about it.
They're probably still top.
Well,
They're probably still top 5 in revenue. That's why.
Probably one of the most recognized NFL franchises. So you know.
Here's a crazy question. I watched. We're going to get into it because we're going to talk about it. The roast of Tom Brady the other night. I'll tell you what, that guy looks like he could get in a uniform right friggin' now and throw touchdown passes. That guy looks like he's in great shape. Did you guys watch the roast the other night?
I didn't see the whole thing. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Teddy.
Go ahead, Tommy.
Teddy, start.
I watched it on the plane ride back from New York, and it was hilarious. It was absolutely hilarious. A lot of feelings were hurt. I think the one thing that it was a Tom Brady roast. I don't think they should talked about Aaron Hernandez the way they did.
Oh yeah.
That guy still has family. He has kids. He has an ex-fiance.
Yep.
I mean, the guy's dead. That was just really weird. That was weird. I think that was very weird. Like, and it's not funny. Like, there's nothing funny about that at all. All the stuff they said about
Giselle, go ahead.
Giselle,
that was all hilarious because they're still alive. You know, Giselle's alive. So
she's still a white belt, by the way, as of today.
Yeah, 8 hours a day, and she's still a white belt. That was classic.
You know, it was strange though. If you watched it, it was a lot of intensity when Belichick and Kraft met at the podium to do that little cheers thing. You could see that. You could see there was a lot of tension there.
Absolutely.
That was a little weird, I would think. You know, Kevin Hart wanted it to happen, but it seemed like there was a lot.
It was weird, but it was cool. It was cool. Like, listen, they're alive. They're moving on, right? They're doing their own thing. They're all millionaires. They're all happy, I think, for the most part.
Yeah.
You know, it's a roast, so everything's fair game. But the Aaron Hernandez stuff just really turned me off.
And you saw Brady reacted when Jeff Ross, the comedian, mentioned that about Belichick. He jumped right the hell out of his seat and he said,
No
Kraft.
more.
Kraft. The massage thing.
Yeah, right.
Massaging.
When Jeff Ross mentioned that about Kraft, Brady jumped right out of his seat. He said, "Stop that shit right now."
Yeah.
He didn't want nothing.
Yeah, he should have said.
Because he's like a father figure to Brady.
Hernandez. He is, but he should have said that with Hernandez.
Well, there was no one there to defend Hernandez, but you know how that goes.
Yeah, it's very weird. But yeah, it was funny overall. Really good stuff. A couple of the people were weird. I was like, who are these guys? I didn't know who, a couple of them were, but for the most part, I thought it was great.
So you enjoyed it?
It was good stuff. You know who they're. So here's the cool thing about the roast. Everyone's so sensitive nowadays. I think we need these roasts to kind of get back to the old school comedy. You know who they're going to do next? They're talking about doing next, right?
I think I heard a name mentioned, but I'm not sure exactly. What was it? I forgot the name.
I heard Tiger.
Tiger?
Oh, wow.
I mean, I've heard that name. I've heard Gronk. I've heard a few other people. I don't know. You never know. But you know what? Gronk could care less. Gronk's the biggest kid. And he was the biggest kid and the biggest guy to have fun in the locker room than anybody, they said, on the team. He's by great. Far. But we got a little time going here. We want to wrap it up. Anything you guys want to add? We had Caitlin Clark the other night, played her first WNBA game. They got smoke showed in Connecticut. She scored 20, but she had almost half as many turnovers as she had points. We've been talking about her career. I think she's going to be dynamite. What's your take on what she's going to do for the WNBA? You think that her is going to raise the level of viewership to the WNBA? What do you think about that?
Well, if I could throw a little plug out, I did have the Suns that night minus the 6.
Nice.
I think it depends on how well she does. If she fizzles, people are going to lose interest real quick in the WNBA. Now, there are some other shining stars there, but I think it all depends if she lives up to her hype.
Yeah.
If she does well, there'll be interest. If she falters, You know,
Once she learns the system, she'll be fine.
no, she should
First
be good.
game,
I
don't
mean, they
forget.
said it was the biggest audience ever in any WNBA history, that game.
That arena was sold out.
Yeah,
at the
but just
Mohegans.
viewership also.
Oh, yeah. No, I get it. What's your take on that? I know we talked about it briefly with college and the ratings that they had with, Iowa and her in the championship game and all that stuff, Teddy. What's your take in the WNBA? You see this girl being a superstar? I think she'll probably win Rookie of the Year when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I mean, her and Angel Reese both had their ups and downs in their first game. They're like the two biggest stars coming out of college this year. They both had their ups and downs, but do I think that she's going to catapult? So let me just give you a little
Not
insight on the
catapulted,
NBA.
but, add more interest to it.
We'll look at the numbers. So right now, the NBA generates $10 billion a year, I believe, in revenue. The WNBA generates about $50 million a year in revenue. So they're not really doing much more business than Scotty Matthews Picks Company. So
There you go.
they're pretty far behind. So I mean, it's going to take a lot to get that, and they're not even fully sustainable. They're subsidized by the NBA. So they're actually a failing business. Let's be honest here. The WNBA on paper fails. If they did not have the NBA to subsidize them, the WNBA would not exist. So I think it's going to take a lot more than one or two players to turn this league around. I mean,
all right, Teddy, I
I
hate to cut you off, but I'm getting looked at by Ben. He's got the swords coming off the walls.
Boy.
We've been going on for quite some time. I want you to tell everyone, I know you're not with us. I wanted you to be able to talk about that event, but we're going to have to hold off on that
We'll do it next week.
Right.
It's not going anywhere. It's not time-sensitive information, so we can talk about it next week.
So tell everyone where they can get that great information you're providing out there each and every day. You've been doing a great job. We love it. Give everyone the information, how they can contact you or follow your information.
I'm going to go really fast. 67% on the year 2024. YouTube.com/@thesportsprofits. Instagram, _profits_pick, or website, thesportsprofits.com. I'll see you guys next week.
One other thing, you're back on set next week, correct?
Oh, yeah. I'm back on set.
All right. Beautiful.
Absolutely.
All right. You have a great day. Big Kahuna.
Big Kahuna.
Tell everyone where they can find all that great content you're putting out every day.
Instagram, 3-4 clips a day, all free. OSB-sports. YouTube, OSB_sports for Instagram. OSB-sports YouTube. Check out my website, onlinesportsbet.com.
And check out that hat, guys, right on the head there. OSB Sports. There it is. All right, guys, I'm Scott Matthews. I host this show. Like I said, it's a pleasure for me to be here each and every week with you guys, trying to give you some betting insights. You could check everything I'm doing, and we've been dynamite on social media. Check out my Instagram, SM Sports Picks, Picks, 17-6 on our last 23 games, 24-9 over our last 33. That's all real stuff.
Nice.
Go back, check the videos out. And on TikTok, while it's still around, I'm hoping it stays around. On TikTok, my handle is SM Picks, Picks. More importantly than all that, guys, watch the show. That's the name of this game. Watch our show each and every week. It's on Spotify. It's on Apple. It's on YouTube. Check it out. It's the OSB Sports Podcast. I'm Scott Matthews. You guys have a great day. We'll see you back here next week.